Alright y'all, Eric here, driverlineup.com, world's luckiest steering wheel holder. Today I'm gonna weigh in on Prime Inc. downsizing. It's all over YouTube, so it must be true, right? To an extent it probably could be, but I probably have a little bit of a different take on it. So I don't want to dilly-dally too much. There's a Baby Yoda, but that's not really, he's not really Baby Yoda, but I still call him Baby Yoda. I'm going to address that and a few other things at the end of the video. Some of the questions have been asked, but we're going to jump right into the downsizing issue, and I'll give you my thoughts on it here in just a second. I'm at Walmart. Got a beautiful view. Look at this view. Look at this view. Storm clouds out there. And if you're to believe YouTube, let me get this fixed. There's storm clouds at Prime Inc. Yeah, so there's plenty of videos. There's Prime drivers who are talking about this. There's non-Prime drivers talking about this on YouTube. The reason I wanted to address it is really because a video put out by SoCal Trucker. I don't know him. I'm not doing this video to take a swipe at him or anything, but I watched his video about it, and he had a lot of inaccuracies in there. Just a lot of things that I don't know if he's just misinformed or if he's trying to make it sound worse than it is. For those who don't know, the gist is it was said in a safety meeting on a Friday morning, maybe 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure exactly which Friday morning it was. Rob Lowe got up and talked about downsizing almost 500 trucks. And then Steve Wuttke, head of sales, got up and talked about, there being some storm clouds and a lot of unknowns in the freight market. Now, if you've been on this channel for a long time, I've been saying this for a year. I was talking about this long before it became abundantly clear that there are some ripples in the water. Not just ripples, I mean there's some seismic things happening out there. And I was just reading a report the other day about the volume coming through the ports and how it's tanking. I mean, like, it's going way down. And then there was another report on FreightWaves about the warehousing capacity. There's basically a ton of capacity opening up out in the Empire Valley, out in the LA area, Inland Empire, which is one of like the biggest warehousing areas in the world. And the vacancy of warehousing space up there is like going to the moon, through the roof. There's a lot of empty warehouse space starting to open up. So a lot less freight's coming through the ports. And there's just a lot of things that you don't really see the effect of that until much further down the road, So, I'm not going to pretend that freight is not bad, because I've been saying that for a year now. I was saying inflation was going to do what inflation did long before it did, just because it was obvious with all the variables out there that were right in our faces that it was coming, it was going to happen. It's the same with the freight market. So it shouldn't be any big surprise to everybody that there's some struggles and storm clouds up ahead. But I feel like they're, especially those that don't drive for Prime or never have, like it's easy to take swipes at a mega carrier. Now, there are some prime drivers, and some of them have some good things to say talking about this. But let's talk about SoCal Trucker. I believe that's his name. So he starts out talking about the fact that Prime is not going to let you run trucks in the fleet that are older than like 2019 or something, like either 2019 or 2018. My oldest truck is a 23. But basically, by the math, it gives you like 5 to 6 years, I think, to run a truck that you do lease purchase. Now, in the video, he says that basically that means that at the end of your 5-year lease purchase contract, you just paid off a truck that you can't run anymore. First of all, there is no 5-year lease purchase contract. There's no 5-year contract. You can't. You can do a 3 or a 4. The vast majority of lease purchase are 3-year contracts. If you do a 4-year lease purchase contract, your payment is less by, I don't know, like $200 a week or something like that. $150, $200 a week. Something like that. So there's no 5 years, so there's no scenario where Success Leasing says, congratulations, you paid off your truck, now you can't run it in the fleet. There's no scenario where that's going to happen. So I think probably some of the things that were said like that is what kind of got under my skin a little bit, just because it's like, well, that's not, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, no offense, bro, but you know what you're talking about. This is why I had to make a second video the other day when I talked about Landstar, because I have to be careful when I talk about other carriers that I've never driven with and I have no experience with, because I don't know what I'm talking about. Now, I can relay what's in reports and things like that, but if I'm just going to go and say in hearsay, hey, someone told me this, and so that's fact. Someone told me that if your 5-year lease purchase contract, you can no longer drive your truck. Well, that's not an accurate report of any kind. And then he goes on. He had a second video where he talked about Prime Inc. being in trouble, or maybe it was just clickbaity or something, you know. But man, I've been saying for months, it's freight everywhere. But what's really important to note here, first of all, about Prime Inc. dropping almost 500 trucks, is that this has happened before. I have several videos. I tried to find one. I couldn't find it because there's no real good search. I don't remember what I would have titled it, because I always talk about all kinds of things in my videos, so I don't remember what I would have titled it. But there was a video a couple years ago where I talked about how Prime had said in a safety meeting that they were limiting new hires, limiting trucks, even moving some trucks out of the fleet, because they were trying to protect the amount of freight and the gross revenue per truck for the existing driver base, for the good, dependable drivers at Prime. So this is not some new phenomena. And also, he said almost 500 trucks, not almost 500 drivers. That's a really important distinction that I'm not seeing a lot out there. I don't think it was implied either directly or indirectly that Prime's just, cutting loose almost 500 drivers. He said they were downsizing the fleet by almost 500 trucks. Pretty sure that's what he said. Well, that's a big difference, because if you note, TNT now is, which is our training program period, trainee with trainer or something like that, TNT, is now 50,000 miles. That means that student is going to run on a team truck a lot longer than I did when I was a student. I did 30,000 miles. So that's at least an extra month probably for most students that they're on a team truck. They're heavily encouraging team trucks. There's pretty decent team freight. Go ask Lenny, the guy I mentioned the other day. was pretty decent. He showed me his Prime app, and let me tell you something, man. He's been running $14,000-$15,000 weeks. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're just chopping 400, almost 500 drivers. I'm pretty sure he said they're downsizing by almost 500 trucks. That means that they're going to replace their training program, and everything is now designed to replace drivers as they leave. There's not a total hiring freeze, but it's a hiring squeeze designed to keep the fleet where Prime feels they're comfortable with being able to provide enough freight to keep the gross revenue per truck at what they need it to be for the entire fleet. So I don't like, this is not like this is not Panic at the Disco. Shouldn't be like everything's on fire and the world's burning down. It's just Prime doing what Prime always does, and it tries to think ahead. And if it doesn't see some remarkable freight scenarios within the next 3, 6, 9 months, it's going to have to make some changes. Otherwise, it will be really bad. If Prime doesn't do things like this, then 6 months down the road, every truck's going to be doing $2,000 or $3,000 a week in revenue. We're going to be like, what the hell? Prime's hurting. So we're kind of seeing all this criticism over things that we should actually applaud. There should be applause for this. So that would be kind of my thought. Again, this is another reason why I like to be at Prime, because of things like this. So the very thing that some YouTubers are out there saying that Prime's in trouble over is the thing that is on the long list of things of why I like Prime and why I feel secure with Prime. The irony of that. So yeah, I think it's, I've been talking on this channel for 8 months about how the freight market is, there's some flames, there's some fires, and so many people don't like to hear that or don't want to talk about it. Yet when Prime makes what should be an obvious shift to make sure that they can navigate it and move with the turns, then because it's a mega carrier, it's so easy to come out and be like, well, F Prime, they're doing this and they're in trouble, and look, there's a lot of things to complain about Prime about, but I actually applaud them for making sure that if you drive for Prime, the whole objective is to make sure that your and my gross revenues are protected, and make sure that we don't have way too many trucks. I don't understand why. I don't understand what the problem is. I think it's very smart. I think it's forward thinking, and I think it's something that we should be pleased with, not panicked over. Oh boy, there is plenty. There's plenty to complain about. By the way, this Walmart that I'm at is the Walmart that I locked my keys in my truck in like the first few months after I upgraded, and it was the worst. I have a video about that too, because I did it twice in my first year, but it was here, and it was in the very spot that I'm parked in. And what happened was, so this Walmart, you take your trailer over to the dock, you unhook from it, and you come over and park with in a bobtail section. A lot of Walmarts are like that. So what happened was, I get out to go take my paperwork in, and I had my keys were attached to the alloy lock, which I had sat down between the door and the seat. And when I got out, they weren't in my pocket or attached to my pants. Now I realized this as I was closing the door. Like, I saw the keys there, but it was too late. I tried to stop the door. In fact, I was so close to stopping the door that the door didn't fully latch, but it was latched locked. So I couldn't open the door. And I could barely squeeze my fingers to where I could almost feel, I'm pretty sure I could feel the tip of one of the keys by trying to squeeze my finger through the door seal, but I couldn't get the door open. And it was so hot. And so I go inside, and there's no, like, I don't think this one might have a lounge. I don't think it does. But they didn't want me to hanging out inside there, so I just had to sit on the stairs and wait for this locksmith. And the locksmith showed up right when the trailer was done, so it didn't create a huge problem. But I did have to sit outside on the stairs for like 2 hours waiting for this locksmith. And I was like, man, I'm so embarrassed that you're having to come back, you're over here and deal with this. He goes, man, I come over here all the time. I was like, really? He said, yeah, and it's usually a lot worse than this. He said, there are drivers who lock their keys in their truck at the guard shack, which means they're blocking traffic at the guard shack for sometimes an hour or two with their load, which if they're coming in, their load's not on time if they've locked their keys in the truck. If they're leaving, well, they're not leaving for an hour or two until he can get here. So I still felt like a dipshit, but I felt better than if I had. So he said, he's like, I'm over here like every month. So it wasn't just super unique. Anyway, Hopper, I think, asked about Baby Yoda. It's Grogu, right? No, that one is not Reese's. That's the one that I've had on our truck for years. Whatever truck we drive, he's on there. In fact, there's a video that I did about Blue Beacon where he's the thumbnail with a headset on. So I can't have Jenna or Remy or Reese on the truck with me, but I have Baby Yoda. It's not really Baby Yoda, but we all want to say Baby Yoda anyway, right? All right, guys. I got this load should be done, being unloaded anytime, and then tomorrow morning I'm picking up a load at a cold storage facility and taking that to Tennessee. So so I'm staying busy, since I left the yard, keeping busy, good, decent paying. With fuel prices, you always want it to be higher, but I've been in the 250, 260 range, somewhere in there. So it's not terrible. All right, guys, be safe, make good decisions, always drive to thrive. Talk to you soon.